Welcome to The Late Show, everybody. I'm your host, Stephen Colbert, and I am feeling blessed tonight, thanks to one man, White House Communications Director and guy ordering a martini at the bowling alley, Anthony Scaramucci. The Mooch! The Mooch! I was worried when Sean Spicer left that the communications office of the White House would lose some flavor. Little did I know, he was going to be replaced by a guy who serves up some very spicy quotes. For instance, we played this last night, but Jimmy, I just want some seconds.
What I don't like about Washington is people do not let you know how they feel. They're very nice to your face, and then they take a shiv or a machete and they stab it in your back. I don't like it.
You know, Anthony,
okay, I'm a Wall Street guy, and I'm more of a front-stabbing person.
Yeah. He would never stab someone in the back. That's rude. A gentleman stabs somebody from the front so he can watch the life drain out of their eyes. Keep them open, keep them open. Now, Trump hired Scaramucci to get rid of the White House leakers, but don't call him a hitman. He's just a guy who was contracted to whack squealers by a powerful Don. And the latest leak that has the Mooch's fusilli in a twist occurred yesterday when Politico published Scaramucci's financial disclosure form, revealing that he has assets worth as much as $85 million. How humiliating. Yeah, now everyone knows that he's the poorest person working at the White House. Now, as much, that's gotta hurt. That's gotta hurt. Now, as much as I've enjoyed the things that Scaramucci has said so far in his 1 week on the job, we got an incredible taste of unfiltered mooch today when New Yorker reporter Ryan Lizza published details of a conversation he had with Scaramucci last night. I'm going to read you some of the quotes here. But be warned, if you were put off by foul language, the mooch thinks you should mooch yourself in the head. I want to give a quick warning to the CBS censors. You guys are going to have to break out the emergency extra bleeps for this one. But it's not my fault. I'm just communicating to you the actual words of the communications director of the White House, the one in Washington. Here's how it started, okay? Lizza reported yesterday about Trump's dinner with Scaramucci, Sean Hannity, and some other guys. Now, the Mooch called up Lizza to try to get the names out of him of who leaked the dinner. But Lizza protected his source, so the Mooch said, okay, I'm gonna fire every one of them, and then you haven't protected anybody. So the entire place will be fired over the next 2 weeks. Mooch. You do realize he's still not going to give you the names. And that if you do fire everybody, you have to replace everybody with people who now know they're working for a guy who would just fire everybody. The Mooch was pretty sure he knew who the leaker was. Chief of Staff Reince Priebus, who he described as a paranoid schizophrenic, a paranoiac. Yes, the guy's paranoid, okay? He's paranoid. He thinks his own communications director is trying to stab him in the back. Again, front stab, front stab. Hold still, hold still. Shh, keep him open, I want to see. Then, the Mooch did his best Priebus impression. Lizza writes that Mooch channeled Priebus as he spoke. Let me leak the thing and see if I can block these people the way I blocked Scaramucci for 6 months. Oh, please, Mooch, I don't think anybody could block you from being a And his words, not mine. And the Mooch was feeling a little hurt about how people have been treating him in his new job. Quote, I've asked people not to leak things for a period of time and give me a honeymoon period. They won't do it. Hey, everybody, I'm Anthony Scaramucci, the Mooch. I'm a front stabber. I'm here to fire everybody. Be nice to me. Okay? A little bit. Be a little bit nice to me, okay? I'm somebody's little boy. And the mooch says he was doing this for all the right reasons. I'm not trying to build my own brand off the strength of the president. I'm here to serve the country. And added, I'm not Steve Bannon. I'm not trying to suck my own. Look. Yeah. Yes. 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 Look, if Bannon could do that, he'd never leave the White House. Though, I gotta say, we never see him anymore. Good for you, Steve. But all good bada bings must come to an end. Because Scaramucci signed off by saying of Priebus, yeah, let me go, though, because I gotta start tweeting some to make this guy crazy. Adding, can we make this off the record? No? Okay, mooch out. Hey! Oh! So immediately after that, he gets off the phone, says, I gotta tweet some stuff to make this guy crazy. Scaramucci tweets, in light of the leak of my financial disclosure info, which is a felony, I will be contacting at FBI and at the Justice Department, #swamp, at Reince45. Hang on. He just tagged at Reince45. That either means Mooch just publicly accused Reince Priebus of a felony, or there are 44 other Reinces on Twitter. I find that hard to believe. Yes. Like, through
Number
that.
45.
Yeah, through that.
Number 45.
But hold on a second here. Felony? Mooch, your financial disclosure forms are publicly available upon request. That's the disclose part of disclosure. You're thinking of the financial ixnay on the unime forms. Cheese it. How did you not know that wasn't a felony? You went to Harvard Law School. What did you study there? A VHS copy of My Cousin Vinny? Hey! What? No. Hey! Scaramucci woke up with a raging mooch over today. Because this morning he called into CNN with Lizza on the other line still, trying to explain last night's phone call in the moochiest way possible.
When I was speaking to you last night, Ryan, I said it was unpatriotic that you weren't telling me who the leakers were. I was on a plane landing in New York. I have to go visit my mom, and so you may have caught it the wrong way. I was teasing you, and it was sarcastic. It was one Italian to another.
Yeah. It was one Italian to another, you know. I was visiting my mom, you know. Anyway, give me the leakers, and maybe you never see your mom again. I forget. Does she have a front? Yeah. But while he was there anyway, Scaramucci was willing to talk to CNN on one condition.
I just spent about 15 minutes on the phone talking with the President of the United States, who has given me his full support and his full blessing. And I'm gonna read you something, Chris, and you bear with me. And the president also told me, if you're nice to me in this segment, he'll let me come back on the show. Is that cool?
Yeah, Chris, is that cool? You play nice, I play nice. You got a nice show here. Hate to see something happen to it. And the mooch let the leakers know he's on to him.
I've interviewed most of the assistants to the president. I've interviewed most of the people in the communications team in the White House. And what the president and I would like to tell everybody, we have a very, very good idea of who the leakers are, who the senior leakers are in the White House.
Yes, I've also done some research on who's sharing information damaging to the White House. And we've been able to put together this composite police sketch. If you see this man, approach with caution. Approach with caution. Then the mooch reminded us how dangerous these leakers really are.
President of the United States, again, whether you guys like the guy or you dislike the guy, he's the smartest person that I've ever worked for. There are people inside the administration that think it is their job to save America from this president. Okay, that is not their job.
He's right. That is not their job. That is the job of Robert Mueller. Now, that's his job, right? I think that's his job. I'm not sure. We'll find out. We'll find out. Then the mooch stressed how bad these leakers are.
The White House leaks are small potatoes relative to things that are going on with leaking things about Syria or North Korea or leaking things about Iraq. Those are the types of leaks that are so treasonous that 150 years ago, people would have actually been hung for those types of leaks.
Absolutely. 150 years ago, if people were leaking things on the internet, they would have been hung for witchcraft. They wouldn't put up with that. No one would put up with that. No. Now, his message is subtle here, but the mooch does not like the leaks. And he knows who's ultimately responsible.
It's absolutely, completely, and totally reprehensible. And as you know from the Italian expression, the fish stinks from the head down. But I can tell you two fish that don't stink, okay? And that's me and the president.
Okay. Okay. Let's stop right there. I've heard the fish stinks thing, but if look, can I have a fish here? Can I show you a fish? I'm trying to figure this thing out. Let me figure this out. Here's this fish. Okay, if it stinks from the head down, and this thing is the White House, isn't Donald Trump the head of the fish? But then you're saying that you and Trump are different fish who work at the fish? I don't understand this metaphor. I think you might be fished in the head. Now, that's going on us. Now, let's get back to Reince Priebus. Scaramucci says, despite their differences, really, he and Reince are close.
If you want to talk about the chief of staff, we have had odds, we have had differences. When I said we were brothers from the podium, that's because we're rough on each other. Some brothers are like Cain and Abel. Other brothers can fight with each other and then get along. I don't know if this is repairable or not.
Yeah, who knows? Some brothers are like Cain and Abel. Some are like Mario and Luigi, okay? Who knows what'll happen? Will we go down a pipe to save the princess, or will I bash his head in with a rock and then lie to God about it? Who knows? Am I my Priebus's keeper? Am I my Priebus's keeper? I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? The question is, Reince Priebus, why are you sticking around and taking this abuse? Just leave and enjoy the easy life on Spicer Island. And the mooch isn't just handling the leaking. Yesterday, he met with the BBC's senior driveway correspondent to explain just how difficult it is to pass a health care bill.
I'm wondering whether the president feels he's been front-stabbed by some of the senators who voted down that repeal of Obamacare.
Well, if you read Team of Rivals, it took Lincoln 3 or 4 times to get what he wanted from the Senate and the House of Representatives, which was the full abolition of slavery.
Yeah, it took 3 or 4 times, plus a civil war, so we'll see what happens. By the way, that John Wilkes Booth, a total coward. I would have front shot him. Hey, Abe, kaboom! Kaboom! It's the mooch! Sharpen the gun. Stab you with my gun. Stab you with my gun. The mooch also made it clear that our multimillionaire real estate mogul president is no elitist.
So here's what's going to happen.
Donald Trump is not elite.
We're going to move on.
The business side, or the politics side, or the inheritance side. What part of Donald Trump? Many people in the UK don't understand that.
There's so many things about the president.
He's a celebrity.
How about
He's
the
a billionaire.
cheeseburgers? How about the pizza that we're eating?
Everyone eats cheeseburgers and pizzas. What are you talking about?
See, you're coming across a little bit elitist.
Hey, you're a little elitist yourself there, Mary Poppins, all right? Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious! Bippity-boppity stab! Boom! We got a great show for you tonight.